yo, let's get hype with Joe Macro Golf, man. Is it recording? Wait.
Make sure it's recording.
Let's make sure it's recording.
Yeah, because this guy didn't make it.
What's going on, guys?
Yo, what's going on, man?
What's going on? How we doing? All right?
Yeah,
all
man.
Good, all good, man.
It's just, it asked me if I was all right being recorded. I clicked yes, so you should be good.
Yeah, awesome, man.
That's calm.
Yo,
Thanks for
what's happening?
Thanks for inviting me on, guys.
Fans over there?
You, man?
We got some fans on right now. It's hot.
How's it? It's hot. It's hot, man. What can you do?
Yeah,
What are you gonna do, man?
Oh man. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me on, guys. Looking forward to this. It's gonna be good fun.
yeah, man. It's gonna be fun, mate. It's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, man. This is the first time I'm speaking to him properly, but like we've had some run-ins on Instagram. Basically, I slid into his DMs. I can't lie. I guess you could say. But basically, I think he was gonna schedule for my brother Drained It. We were just talking about it earlier. Drained It on Instagram _it because he's long. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't get the Drained It title. But yeah, I guess to start off with, just like introduce yourself to the audience, bro, because I'm sure they don't know you, and probably a lot of our audience don't really know about golf that much. So if you can make it basic, man.
Yeah, no, happy to be here and happy to hopefully spread the word a little bit about what I do. So my name is Joe. Basically, created my company, which is Macro Golf Online. To make it as simple as possible, I pretty much help golfers be able to play their best golf by improving their physical attributes. So basically, work with pro golfers, amateur golfers, and pretty much helping them hit the ball further, play without pain, reduce injury, and basically play their best golf. So start my own business doing that, and do it as my full-time job now. And I pretty much just travel around playing golf, meeting with golfers, and people are saying I'm pretty lucky, man. But it's not as easy as people think. So
no, obviously there's a huge back end to what you do, especially being like an online creator. And I'm sure you go through the same bouts with like burnout and so on. And to even get in your position right now, you probably had to sacrifice a lot in the beginning.
For sure.
So it's definitely not easy, but at the same time, you're living the dream, bro.
Yeah, it must be exciting, isn't it? You're going to different places, meeting different people. So
this is it, man. So me and my partner have actually got plans now. We've been planning it the last few weeks. So we're going to be moving in the next week or so, kind of be based somewhere for 3 months. And then we're going to be traveling around different bits of Europe, different around. And we both work all online. So that's one of the big things. When I started this company now, I said, I don't want to do anything in person. Everything's going to be done online. Exactly for that reason. I just want to travel around, meet people, go and play, and have no ties anyway. So that was my biggest driver for starting this business the way I'd done it. And yeah, at times I'm almost turning down business at times because people want person to person, but online's the way forward, guys. I'm sure you guys will chat to a lot of people that will say the same thing. If you can do everything you do online, you're good, man. That's the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can just be more agile with it, isn't it? Like, you have more freedom to do whatever you want. And low key, like that's one of the motivations to starting this podcast and trying to make it big is the fact that, we can just go to Bali one time because we have friends over there and we could just like have a little conversation in a hut. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man.
And those are like the visions that like I kind of see in the future. Do you have those similar kind of visions to the future?
Exactly that. Like there's so many places I want to see, so many things I want to do. And I pretty much now have focused this business around being, one, as I said, being able to be wherever I want, whenever I want is a big aspect of that. But two, just freeing up my time. Like the amount of times that I've just had jobs where I'm just exchanging my time for money. I just want to get away from that now and just have everything kind of ticking over and free up my time. Because although you want to go and travel and you want to work, it's also nice to have your free time and be able to almost disengage from that at times as well. So trying to do as much as I can at the moment to build some passive income, but the traveling side is definitely a huge kind of, it was a massive pull for me to do what I've done. So I fully agree with you there.
Yeah, man. And it's like, we're in one country right now with a set structure, and there's loads of self-help books, including like Third Circle Theory, or like even these spiritual guides. They even say like if you're not exposed to more than one area, city, or way of life, then your mind's going to be stuck in that box. you know, and you just can't get out of that box if you don't travel, you know.
Fully agree, and I think you learn so much also by going and working with different people as well, working with people in different environments, different cultures. You learn different ways of doing things. You learn, you just learn so much about what you can do to help yourself, and it helps your business in the end as well. So I think being able to travel and meet other people is huge for that, but also for, as you said, your self-development is massive.
Yeah, man. That's dope. And I guess you're probably wondering how we got into this.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting like field to get into. Like, I mean, compared to Mizanah, like obviously I'm not as experienced in golf. I don't have a full understanding as much as he does. But yeah.
So
Yeah.
How
So
did you get into it? Bro? How did you start playing golf to begin with, and then we'll get onto the business side of things as well. Bro.
yeah, so I played a little bit when I was younger, not a lot. Football was mostly my main sport. So I played a little bit of golf when I was younger, but not a lot. Then when I went to university, I played a little bit, but it was only probably 6 years ago that I started playing properly and really getting into it. And golf's one of those sports, your brother will tell you as well. Once you're into it, you're just addicted. Like once you start, it's one of the most addictive sports to get into. So I was just fully hooked. But my background was always fitness. It was always coaching. At university, I'd done sport and exercise science. Stayed on, done a master's, then was lecturing at the university, teaching people to become personal trainers. So I was always involved in fitness and coaching people as well. But off the back of that went and then for quite a few years, and what was my full-time job for a long time was managing leisure centres. That's what I've done for ages, basically managing gyms and leisure centres. I've done that in Westminster, in London, different areas. And that was the job that, in the end, exactly what we spoke about there, you can kind of get stuck into something and you want to stay like, especially when you're in a career and you've got opportunities and you're earning decent money. And I was looking, I was thinking, it's almost like the harder I work, I'm only going to progress up the ladder and do different things. And it's almost, sometimes you look at it and think, if I really believe in what I can do and believe that I can make things for myself, then you're almost basically just working for someone else, right? You're always going to be, the harder you work, you're putting money in someone else's pocket always, no matter how much commission or bonus you think you're going to get. It's always just putting money in someone else's pocket. And I looked at it and I thought, I don't want to be doing that. I know that I believe in myself that I can make something work. I didn't want to be doing, as I said before, exchanging my time for money, doing long hours, draining things out. And it just clicked in my mind. I said, well, I've got all this experience working with pro athletes or working with, I worked with a lot of bodybuilders at the time and working with people. And I said, and I've also now got the business side of things for my job. I love golf. Let's just put all three together again and go for it. So kind of started to do it. Lockdown happened, which for me was an absolute godsend because obviously all the leisure centres closed.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was privileged and I still managed to work, which was lucky for me. But I pretty much had that opportunity, which I'm sure a lot of people you'll speak to as well. That was my opportunity to say, right, now's the time to go. Let's start this properly and let's push it. So I pretty much had a year to build it to the point that I needed to get it to then leave my full-time job and do this full-time. So it was a tough experience, obviously, and it's always hard trying to build something from nothing. But I honestly believe that that's what I wanted to do, and I just put my mind to it and done it. Obviously, lockdown was great for that. It was really privileged to have that time. But
that shit by the balls, man. Like, in that lockdown period, especially when some people were on furlough. A lot of our guests actually share similar sentiments to you in the sense that, like, okay, cool. They're just going to look at what they love to do, what they're good at, and combine 2 or 3 elements together. And that's kind of what you've done. Like,
exactly.
It's funny because a lot of people in lockdown kind of got more exposure to like mental health and taking care of yourself and all of this stuff. And I feel like everyone's sort of following that Ikigai framework. Are you familiar with the Ikigai framework?
No.
So it's essentially what you've done. Pretty much, okay. Right?
Good.
So you've taken what you love, what you're skilled at, and what you can bring to the world and what you can get paid for.
Okay, yeah. I know this. Yeah. Exactly that. Exactly, and I think with that they generally say you're lucky if you've got 2 out of 3, right? If you get 2 out of 3, you're lucky. To get 3 out of 3 is hitting the jackpot, and in a lot of people's opinions. So, yeah, I'd agree. And I think what you said there is interesting about lockdown as well, because I know a lot of people and a lot of my friends as well started trying to do something during lockdown. They were trying to start their own businesses or trying to do something. But as things started to get a little bit back to normal, and when people started going back to their jobs, they just let it go, right? And it's almost as if they just, I mean, I was privileged that I managed to progress quickly enough that I was in a position to then leave my full-time job and do it. But I think sometimes you need to leave that full-time job to have that fear element to then make it work. And I do believe that a lot of people have got so much potential to do it. They just need that fear, and they just need the fear to actually make that happen and just truly believe that they can do it. But when you've got the fear and you've got to work hard to pay the bills and you've got to do late nights to make it work.
Yeah.
People make that one way.
It's crazy because, like, how old are you, Joe, by the way? Just
28. I'm 28.
Yeah. So, like, you basically echoed our thoughts essentially throughout the whole podcast. It's like, you know, getting out of the 9-to-5 kind of framework, you know, having residual income, doing something for yourself, by yourself, and you don't have to, you know, always work for someone. And I guess you're the type of person who is turbulent enough to take those risks, because if you don't take those risks, you're always going to work for someone who does, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really insightful, man.
I don't know if it'll help anyone who's listening to this that's thinking of making the same decision. I pretty much I worked out what I needed to live, like what my bare minimum was to live.
Yeah.
And I made sure that I had 2 months. So I basically gave myself a 2-month buffer of that money. Just managed to kind of save that over the year. I say 2 months of bare minimum, and that's the buffer I gave myself, and that worked for me. That was enough buffer for me. Whether for other people it might not work that way, but I think that's always key to understand. We live at a certain level, but we can live at another level that is less than that. So always work out what your absolute minimum is that you could survive on. And for me, I gave myself 2 months. I said 2 month buffer. I've got to make it work in 2 months. That was the way I've done it. And yeah, I mean, hard work. You get your head down and you get it done, right?
You know what? We're probably gonna take this advice for ourselves. But yeah, like I'm kind of currently in a 9-to-5 role, right? And hopefully when I get enough months in, basically, I do my time, right? I'm talking like it's a jail. But like once I do have enough like savings or whatever, we'll probably just put a lot into this once we see that the numbers have reached a certain point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great like landing board to go off, you know?
Yeah, and I think like this fear element is such a big part of it, because it's very easy when you've got sustainable income coming in, and like even if you've checked out of that job that you're doing, that 9-to-5, whatever, and your mind's not in it, it's still taking up your capacity. It's still taking up your brain. It's taking up your time. It's taking up your thought. It's taking up your stress. So I always think that until you make that break and until you break those ties, you will never be fully into that project that you're trying to get to. And I know the finances will always be a key part of that, but there's so much potential for everyone when they really put their mind to getting something done. When you think like, if I don't get this done, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. Suddenly you're going to wake up early, you're going to stay up late, and you're going to make that work, right?
Exactly. Like there's power in rational anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, and fear is the biggest motivator because it's the one that takes you out of your element so much. And I feel like it's the biggest motivator, and at the same time, it can be the biggest like demotivator at the same time. Like 100%, yeah. Where 100%. One side of it, as you said, like, if I've got 2 months to do this, that fear's building up. Like if I don't get it done, then this will happen. So that'll push you forward more. And then then there's the other side of fear, where it's like, I'm scared to leave my job because what if this happens? What if this happens? 100%.
And
football effect from there, isn't it?
And I can sit here now and I can say, it's easy, it's this or whatever. Like the time I was making that decision, I remember having the same conversation with my partner, with my family, and I was saying, look, okay, you go through the rational thing. Like the worst case scenario, I'm going to be stacking shelves at Tesco, right? But still, maybe I can do that like 2 or 3 days a week and still do this or whatever. Like you always go through those rational thoughts, and like this is it. And like even the night after I left or the day after I left, whatever, you're laying in bed and you're worried and you struggle to sleep and you think, what's going on? But you get past that and you make things happen. And I think the key with all these things is like now I get like a bit of anxiety at certain times when things are building up and I know I've got to get stuff done, whatever. And what I normally say to myself is when I get this feeling, like today I had this feeling, I've got a lot going on at the moment. I normally say to myself, when I get this feeling, it means something is going to happen, something's changing. Because if I'm feeling relaxed and I'm not bothered, then in my eyes I'm doing something wrong, because that means I'm not progressing and I'm not moving forward. I'm relaxed, I'm chilled. That's not where I want to be. I want to progress forward. I want to always be growing and I want to be changing and I want to be always getting better. So I think that anxiety, when you can use it and use it as fuel to do what you want to do and make your passion happen, it's really powerful, man. It's really powerful feels.
Yeah, man. So like it's cool because your journey is very like, you know, point A to point B to point C. Like it kind of makes sense, you know, like you started on, you know, the PT kind of side. You were always into the training game, and then go for something that was embedded in you from young. So you always kind of had that skill and that muscle memory from the get-go. And then you probably reverted back to it in uni, because uni golf,
yeah,
a different game, bro. Like it's the most playing golf, I think. Yeah, man, because like a lot of people just drink before the games. You know what I mean? So it's a very different game, and you kind of get so much exposure to like a huge network. I wonder, what was the sort of trigger point to get you into what you're doing now? From like golf and et cetera.
Well, to start in the coaching, I went on a trip to Portugal with my dad on a golf trip, and it was that point on that trip, 3 or 4 days, I said, right, I want to be having a profession in golf. That was what I wanted to do. So that was kind of my point of really then starting to do it. And I probably didn't do anything for about 6 or 8 months after that. Didn't probably do anything. And then after that, started an Instagram page, started to post a little bit about my own golfing journey, and then started to filter that from my own golfing journey into doing a little bit of fitness stuff within golf, and then started to feed that through, try to build that. But I say this to anyone that I speak to about this, I pretty much created my business from Instagram. Everything I have from Instagram. And still now, I would probably say, I don't know, maybe like 75 to 80% of my business comes from Instagram. It's insane. It really, like, the power of building a community on a platform like that is crazy. Honestly,
I guess you just don't get it. A lot of people, when they start an Instagram page, they see, you know, how saturated it is. They see how much like companies put on ads, for example. So like my company right now, we put like hundreds of pounds in each post, you know, just to get that exposure, you know, more boost. And, you know, you kind of see that and you're like, you know, how can I make it big on Instagram? And you post for like a month or so and then you stop. Like a lot of people just stop, especially like in my outer circle, like that. But when you started from there and you just keep plucking away, you know, instead of seeing a mountain, you see like a little slope, you know? Yeah. It's just something that you have to come over. And I think like what you like you seem like you zoom out a lot so that you can have a fuller perspective.
Yeah, I think the key with Instagram in my eyes is if you're always trying to get follows and trying to get likes, you're never going to be satisfied, because you're never going to have as many followers and as many likes as other people. It's just never going to happen, right? But if you can build a community, that's when it's powerful. And the community doesn't need to be a lot of people, right? Like, I don't have a massive following on Instagram, but I've got not, as I said, like 70% of my business from there. And it's more about, I think, building a community within that platform so I think you can kind of separate followers to then your community. So I might have like, I think maybe like nearly 7,000 followers, let's say, but then I probably have a community of about 1,000 people.
No, I get you, yeah.
And I think that's a bit like, that's the difference. And that community, you could have 50,000 followers and still have a community of 1,000. And I think that's where you start to, if you think about things when people are buying followers and they're trying to push content and they think it's just going to go viral or whatever, okay, fine. But it's really the community that's going to make you have something from that platform. Everything else is just a like or a follow. It doesn't really do anything for your business, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I've tried to see it. And I think, well, I think you're right. When I first started my page, I was focused a lot on likes and follows, and that was your measure of success. But
like, I think that's just like a game, you know, when you see Instagram and you're like, okay, cool, this kid's getting 1,000 likes and I'm getting like 2.
Yeah.
It like demotivates you, and that's why Instagram have like played around with not showing likes, where you have the option to not show your likes now.
Yeah.
And you're prioritizing building and maintaining these relationships.
That's the key, man.
That's the key to Instagram. Like, you know, you're not gonna make any money if you just start pushing stuff out without thinking about it, or without making sure that your audience are engaged enough, or you're doing something right. And if you're doing something wrong, you seek out for that guidance from your audience.
Agreed.
And
I think
you're in the right way.
Yeah, I fully agree. And like, say, for example, for me, I could, like, let's take the ad, for example, and I've played around with ads a little bit, and I don't really get much success from them, mostly because in the work that I do, I need to build a lot of trust. People, to pay the money that someone's going to pay me, they need to trust me as a person, right? It's more like a personal brand that I need to develop. And that can't be just thrown in front of someone as an ad. It doesn't work in that way, where quite often in the normal Instagram that I do, I'll have people maybe follow me, maybe not even like or comment on a post for 4 or 5 months. And then they message me and say, oh, hi, can you help me with this? I've been following your page for whatever long, really like the stuff you do. And I'm like, I didn't know this person followed me. I didn't even know they were liking I didn't see a like, didn't see a comment, whatever. But they've been following me, and now they've trusted me after 5 or 6 months. And I think that's something that people need to realize, that even if what you're doing, you don't feel like it's making a difference at the time, there are people that are watching your stuff and it's making a difference to them, right? And when people start pages, I think that's the key. Like, say, for example, that example there, if someone's getting two likes, well, those 2 likes might actually really like that post that you're doing. They might have learned something and got value from it. That's actually more important than 1,000 people double tapping and scrolling through.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's my view on it.
If you're an illustrator and those 2 people trust you that much, you know, they're probably going to pay you a commission.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If like I started my marketing freelance finally, you know, eventually, I can get clients from my Instagram just based on the trust factor and how invested they are in my journey.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
in turn, they're invested in what my potential is. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
Just like how they're invested in Joe's potential as a PT / like, I actually thought you were a coach at one point. Like,
Okay, yeah.
An actual like PGA coach.
Yeah.
Because
No,
that's
it's
how your brand comes across.
yeah, and that's nice, because I want it to seem more like it's golf coaching than it is personal training. It's more that way than it is thing. So that's a compliment to me, because that means that what I'm trying to put across is the right way. So that's good feedback for me. Thanks for that.
Yeah, and I say that because it's very similar to what I've like played around with in the last like couple of years. Like, I was actually also, you know, started as a junior golfer. You know, I got up to the level of like Hertfordshire County as a junior.
Yep.
I wasn't like that great, but you know, I was able to get like a free membership at Hadley Wood because of it, and I used to get coached at the Grove, which was nice, right?
Nice.
And through those experiences, I dabbled in teaching people, and it's similar to what you do, but you have that mobility element to it, which is like your superpower, which is why your brand is, you know, so much different to all of the other golf influencers out there. You know?
Yeah, no, I think for me it's important to find that little niche, and it's important with everything people do. And I really believe that you almost can't even niche down enough sometimes. Like, I feel like there's so much stuff being done, and it's so easy to do things right now. And the same for you guys with podcasts, like, is a great example of what you're trying to do. And I almost feel like you almost can't be specific enough. Like, there's so much out there now but you will then find that real group of core people that care about what you do. And I think that's more important. Like, obviously, by doing the way that I do things, I lose a lot of business. There's people that don't care about mobility. They just want to hit the ball further, or they don't care about that. They just want to get stronger in the gym, right? And that's fine. I could help people with those things, but if I try and cater for everyone, I'll end up catering for no one. So I've really tried to focus down on that. And I think that is the future for me. Same as saying I only do stuff online. A lot of people don't want to do stuff online. They want to do stuff in person. I'm not the person. I'm not the guy. That's fine. But I will stick to what I do because I believe that there is enough people out there that want to do work with specifically what I can give them.
No, that's awesome. So let's file it down to what you like actually are offering people right now. So I know you have an app, and I know you do like these calls to check in, and you even reach out to some of your followers and you play them on match play.
Yep.
But what specifically, let's say if CJ wanted to start training with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like an absolute beginner, what would you do specifically, and how would you approach it? So
that's a good question, man. Very good question. So to put a business spin on it, it would depend on what way he'd come through to me. So I've got a few different funnels running at the moment. So it depend kind of what way he'd come through to make that contact. But generally, no matter which way someone comes, I will always try and push them towards some kind of call with me online. That's like the initial spot is that. It's different if they're going to go through to the app. Like the app kind of just sits on its own as a separate, and that kind of, I don't really touch it. It's just all automated. So that would be a little bit different. But in terms of working directly with me, it would be initial call. From there, I would book someone onto a full evaluation. So then that's a paid full screening and also a little bit of linking the physical aspects to the technical aspects. So that's where a little bit of the coaching side comes in. Off the back of that, it would then be onto monthly coaching. And the monthly coaching can vary from around £60 a month to about £350 a month. So, and it can vary between those two. So it all depends on what it is they're after, what they need, how much support they need, how much of my time they want, basically. But yeah, I've played around a lot with the way that I do things, and there was times where I was offering, for example, one-off programs. Say if CJ come to me and said, like, I want to do this, well, okay, that's fine. I'll write you this out. Here you go. But from the more research I've done and more the kind of testing it myself, I just see that monthly subscriptions are the way forward, man. The world is being taken over by monthly subscriptions, and online monthly subscriptions is just like, there is so much money in that at the moment. I've had a call recently with a new, they don't want to say they're competitors to YouTube, but almost going down even paid subscription routes for video platforms, going out there a little bit, things like OnlyFans, right? Like, it's crazy how much money these things make.
Yeah.
Like, it's just online monthly subscription for either content or coaching. There's just so much money out there, man. And that's what I'd say to CJ, if he was coming to me about his golf coaching, I'd say, I'll help you set up a subscription for your producing, man, or for me to listen to your songs or something. That's where you're gonna be like, forget the golf, man. Put your focus on that.
Yeah. Even when we're doing this podcast, we're probably gonna have a Patreon where we go more into things, because we say some wild shit sometimes. We can't lie. So definitely stay tuned for that, guys. But yeah, monthly subscriptions are the way forward. Like, even as you said, OnlyFans, like, that's the best place to market on right now, even if you don't do like nudity or anything. I'm telling you, like, either OnlyFans,
the amount of money that people make on that is just mental, absolutely mental. And that model is being reproduced now into so many different platforms. It's something I've done for mine. So for my app, it's just a monthly subscription, and generally it's cheap monthly subscriptions as well. Like, mine's £5.60 a month, right? It's nothing. That's a pint of beer or a couple of coffees, right? But if you can get 1,000, 2,000 people subscribing to that, that's some passive income right there for not really a lot of work. Like, it takes a lot of work to set it up, but once it's set up, the maintenance of things like that are not a lot. And I think content creation is going that way as well. It's like, as you guys are saying with the podcast, for me, for the stuff that I do, for example, on Instagram or YouTube, whatever, like, being able to have a paid subscription service now seems to be the way things are moving. So yeah, it's exciting times. And
even on the other side, like in the freelance world, like, we speak to a lot of freelancers on this podcast normally. And even for them, they're charging monthly. You know, they don't charge like, okay, this is for my time anymore. They know that the monthly subscription model is positive on both sides, you know, and you're basically benefiting to having the right access to you, having enough hours to make sure that your mobility training is proving effective, right? But on the other side, they're getting a saving, because if they actually bought all of those lessons one off, they wouldn't have been able to, you know, get it for that price. So
Agreed. And
both ways.
Yeah, 100%. And what works both ways in the other way is the more work that they put in, the more value they get, right? And the way that I do it is they have to come to me to book their calls. Like I don't chase them. If they, as part of their subscription, they'll get a certain amount of calls for that. I don't chase them for those calls. If they want to book those calls, they book them. They book in with me, right? For the people that then disappear for 2 months, that's up to them, right? But for me, I've got them subscribed, and what I get from that, And I think people then almost get more from that product because they know that they're paying monthly, and their results then are better. So in terms of how it works, it does work better for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
One more question on social media. So at the moment, I have this like little writing page, and the writing community is beyond fake. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones who buy followers, etc., etc. For the most part, obviously, there's great people over there. I've connected with a few of them, and I'm coming out with a book soon in the next 5 years or so. So that should be good. But I was gonna ask, in your Instagram journey, were you ever like, what was the fakest thing that was like said to you, or interaction, or have you had any hate that kind of stifled you for a bit? How did you overcome that?
It's a good question. I've had, to be honest, I've not had much negativity put my way, which I'm very grateful for. I've had a few run-ins with some other golf fitness coaches, so people that do similar things to what I do. You know, like small things that you can kind of let go. I've had kind of the worst thing I've had is people using my not my contact directly, but if I go out and post something, they'll basically take that, do it themselves, and post themselves, if that makes sense. So that's the worst I've had, and that's frustrating because, like you guys will know, it takes a lot of effort to produce content, and it creates a lot of effort to. It's not just the creation; it's the thought process of the idea, which is the hardest part of them, right? So for some people, just like, and it was frequently as well, of just taking it, redoing it, and posting it back out. That's probably the worst experience I've had. But I've come across a lot of people that are just buying chunks of followers, and I just don't get it. You're not going to gain any traction
from it. Like you see, for example, these Instagram Go traders, right?
Yeah.
Who basically, like, one of them has followed a bunch of my friends this week, right? And you can see, like, if you don't have any comments, and you look that good, it's probably a fake account. You know what I mean?
I think it's gonna hurt the brand even more.
Exactly.
Because if you go on that page, let's say someone's got like, because I've seen it, let's say someone's got like 1 million followers, right? Let's say, and all their posts are getting like only like let's say like 1,000 or even under likes. It doesn't look legitimate, and so the trust is not there. Like if you're looking at a thing, if you're looking at their page, you're gonna think that they're pretty sketchy. That there's something going on.
I mean, we say that, but people are stupid, man. I can tell you a story of exactly this. There's a guy that does something very similar to what I do, and I'll keep an eye on what people are doing. Is of interest to me, right? And the account popped out out of nowhere, 2,500 followers. I saw it. I was like, oh, wow, well, it's half legitimate, whatever. We're tracking, and then it just disappeared. Like, well, not disappeared. The account was there, but just no posts, whatever.
Yeah.
Saw nothing, and then 6 months later, I saw it pop up again. Now he's got 5,200 followers. So what the hell, man? So basically gone like 2,500, right? To jump that much. I thought, okay, well, people do what they want to do. Then I started having people come to me, and I was doing calls, and they were saying that they'd started working with this guy.
No way.
And then done some online stuff with them, messed him around, wouldn't get back to him, they couldn't get hold of him, all these things. So the problem we've got is it then creates a bad name for people that start to do like what I'm trying to do, online coaching. People say, well, I've done an online coaching before and I got messed around and the guy never got back to me and whatever. And because you have not got a physical location, people lose that trust. So although these people we see them as, okay, it's not trustworthy, they lose the brand, whatever. There are people out there that don't see that, and they will just see an account and say, oh, this must be legitimate, it must be good. Look at all these followers they've got, and will buy products or services. And unfortunately, it not only hurts them, but it hurts me as well. So it's a funny world, very funny world.
One key point, like people have to see through just that follower number. They have to look into it, you know, for an extra 2 minutes just to, you know, check it out and see if that person is even worth doing anything with, you know, because if you get involved with these sketchy people, you get scammed for money with the trading thing. And I thought that example was perfect.
Yeah, it happens, man. It happens.
Yeah. So I think CJ had a question to ask.
Yeah.
About
I mean,
the NBA, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, it's not really like a question about like your company. That it's just about golf in general. Because I heard this like some news story and some article. Because obviously some people might think like golf is like not necessarily an exciting sport to watch and that. But like there was recently a story which said that the PGA Tour viewership crushed the NBA playoff viewership.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite like a surprising story. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think golf's on a surge, man. We had a really big surge in golf when Tiger came around. So like I think it was around like 99, 2000. There was a really big bump. I think we've seen another really big bump in the last 2 or 3 years. I think it's just blown up. Social media's helped that. Places like Top Golf has helped that. Like Top Golf has been massive for that. For people going out and playing, doing stuff. So the amount of people playing golf has increased, but the amount of people watching golf has also increased as well. I think there's loads of things to it. I think the players now look more athletic, which helps. The players wear more athletic clothes. A lot of the players are sponsored by better brands now, like Nike, and they're starting to get. It's more of like an appeal to become a golfer. Where before it was just seen as an old man sport or racist sport, or all of these other like bad things that it had in the game, and there still are bad things in the game. But I think now it's moved forward a lot, and there's been some big influences in that. Obviously, I'd say Tiger was a big part of that as well. But I just think that I don't know what's happened over the last 2 or 3 years. I think Bryson DeChambeau's had a big effect on it as well. But I just think in the last few years there's been a boom, and I mean it's great for me, and I think it's great for the sport. And I see it increasing as well. I think the sport's becoming so much more accessible for people to play. So many different variations of it, even to the point of like foot golf, right? Who would have thought foot golf, all this random stuff. But yeah, it's seen a boom. But that's crazy that it's bigger than the NBA. I didn't know that. That was probably the first year that's happened, right?
Yeah. First year. But I didn't even think about that angle of Top Golf having a contribution to the amount of golfers that are coming on.
Yeah.
Like it makes complete sense. Like I was gonna say, you know, people like Dustin Johnson, right? Bryson DeChambeau, like you said, like they're big guys, big muscular guys, you know. And in your mind, like from young, obviously you associate, you know, that big character with like, okay, cool, like there's some appeal to that, you know. Like I wouldn't mind being that, especially as kids, you know, who are like easily influenced, etc. Like they see like, okay, cool, like golf might be, you know, a tough guy sport now. You know what I mean? And so I guess that spills over into it. But yeah, I think it's because there's a lot of younger golfers on the scene as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously Tiger Woods coming back had a huge effect on it. After his like little scandal and stuff. I think everyone's forgot about that now, and it's really on the upside.
Agreed. And I think it's becoming more. Social media's got big influence on that, but there's so much cool stuff coming out with golf now, like trick shots and as we said, top golf, and trying to hit the ball as far as you can. Like that interests people. So
became big in the last couple of years.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm all for it, man. Let it continue, get bigger and bigger. It's good for me.
Actually, you know what? We know a guy called Rory. I can actually get you in touch with him as well. To be fair, that would be really interesting to see what you could do and help him out. But he's a long drive competition champion. He used to train at the Shire with who's the other guy who
So Lee is the coach there. Lee Cox is the coach, isn't he? So Joe Miller.
Joe Miller, yeah. So he worked with Joe Miller as well. So it would be good to get him on the podcast. But did you know I actually was coached by Lee at one point in time?
Ah, nice. He's a really good coach. Really good coach.
He's one of the best in like Barnet, basically.
It's very good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you said about the racist element to it. I don't want to talk about this too much, clearly. But when I was growing up in the
Depends where you go, man. Depends where you go. I bet in some places.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, it's always gonna exist to a certain extent, you know, like in the outskirts, you know, in the outbacks, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But when I was in the Hertfordshire County, you know, there were probably 5% of people who were colored, were white, and you do feel kind of alienated a little bit to begin with when I was there, and then as we grew up, right? So as like 3 years passed, I was in the junior section. I felt nothing at the end. Like there was no racism, no nothing. And I think that's when the trigger points really started kicking in. Like the different variations of golf, you know, there's new mechanics involved. And I think the companies that are endorsing all of these new athletes has a huge impact as well. Like I think that's probably the biggest determining factor, is the fact that, you know, Nike, Adidas, Puma, Calvin Klein now, they've all sort of pitched into the golf market because they've seen the potential, and they've seen, like, you know, the young interest. And as more and more kids who are like 2 or 3 are going to start picking up golf clubs, we're just going to see that increase.
Agree.
You know what I mean, like CJ's going to be on the course soon. He's going to be on the course. So we have some audience questions. We got through quite a lot there, to be fair. I wanted to ask you more on the business side, because obviously, you know, we're trying to start a little enterprise over here, a little media company.
Yep.
So how did you get your first client? And I guess you can even talk me through like your relationship with him and so on.
Yeah. So my first client, it came from Instagram, and I remember now I charged them £70 for a training plan. And to give you an idea, that's probably like a fifth of what I would charge now. Yeah. Like a year and a half down the line. And yeah, he was someone who I'd was following on Instagram, and following me, and we'd had a bit of conversation to and fro. And I then, because I was doing a little bit with a couple of people for free, just to kind of trial out what I was the way I was doing the programming and how I was designing things, whatever. So I was posting a little bit about it, and then I think he got in touch with me then, just directly messaging me from Instagram and said, like, "Oh, I'll be interested in this." I remember doing a first consultation call, really, really nervous, obviously. Thought I'd made the sale. Then I got nervous because he wouldn't then respond to my message, and I was back and forth. And then finally, I remember taking that, like, get my email with the first income. I think I was probably using Shopify or something at the time. And I saw that first email come through, and it was like £70. And I was like, yes. And I was like over the moon from that. And I remember that week, I then done another 4 of those in the space of like 4 days. And I was like, what the hell? It was almost like once that kind of barrier was broken, suddenly I went bang, 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 bang. And I was like, wow, actually, suddenly I've made like where I'd made like 300 quid or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is amazing, man. That's like £300 on top of my salary. I was over the moon. Yeah, he must and then first week, man. Yeah, it was like you got your first one trying for. Well, no, because I've been trying for a while. Like I've been probably pushing for like a few months and had nothing. Like had like 0 consultation calls, 0 interest. I was just like, what am I even doing? Is this even worth it? But I remember once I got that first one, and then I think I got like 3 after that, back to back, and I was like, right, okay. Feel like now people are slightly interested in what I'm doing. And then I went for a really bit of a lull after that initial spot, and I was like, then went worried again, and then things I kind of tweaked the way I was doing things. I changed my prices a little bit, kind of stuck with my guns with my prices, and eventually things started to roll a little bit further. But I remember my first decent sale, which was one where I thought, okay, maybe this could actually be something I could do for a living, where I sold an £800 package off like a 15-minute consultation call. And as I said, right, this I could do now I believe now that I could actually make enough money doing this to quit my job and do it. So that was probably, although it wasn't my first sale, it was probably my first turning point in thinking that what I was doing was actually able to be made my full time. That's a big moment, right?
Your normal income, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, that must have just given you enough confidence, you know, like once, you know, the method has been done some iterations here and there, you know, you finally break the seal, and you know, when you are drinking and you break the seal, you keep on going, you know what I'm saying? So
just when you think you're done, 5 minutes later there's another one. What's going on, man? Yeah, exactly that.
Another one, and I guess you kept pumping it out. So yeah, what's the future of macro golf, man? What's happening next? What do we expect? What should we expect?
That's a good question, man. So my aim is to completely remove myself from doing the contact with amateurs at all. Not because I don't enjoy it, but my aim is to probably bring someone in to do that coaching. So I basically just pay someone to do that side of things. It's not that easy because there's not many people that have got the qualifications to do it. So I need to find someone who's got the qualifications to do it. Luckily, everything's online, so that makes it easier for me to find that person. But my key now is to get all the processes in place so that someone can just come in and do that on my behalf. So that I'm trying to set up hopefully in the next 2 years. And then that allows me to spend my time more with the pros, because generally with pros, you make commission back on their winnings. So you get paid percentage of their winnings when they win. So ideally I want to have macro golf kind of sat there looking after itself, bringing me enough income that's that kind of on its side, and I don't need to be too much involved with it. And then I can be out traveling, playing with the pros, and really starting to build those strong relationships and helping them as much as they can get there. Because that's probably the part that I enjoy the most, is going and playing with the pros and spending time with them. So that's where I want to be spending my time.
Understanding as well, isn't it? Like, for example, my dad, he goes to see this osteopath, and his name is James Ellis, right? And he works with pros just as an osteopath, and he gets paid shitloads for it, you know. And he even got an invitation to go to the Masters.
Yeah.
And I assume that's kind of like the similar kind of dream that you have, where, you know, one day, you know, you might be training someone who's in the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the dream. And at the moment, I'm training people that are on feeder tours and playing on pro tours here in the feeder tours, and you only need a couple of them to break through and start progressing up the ranks, and then you're in, right? And you know, with all of these things, once you're in, it's another game. It's a complete another game.
Once you're in, half your time is getting taken up. You're going on a golfing holiday every 6 months. You know what I mean? bro, your life gets taken over. You know, like. Yeah. Joe, I even kind of took a break from golf myself, right? For a year and a half or so when I started working. This was like my first corporate job after uni, right? Like typical trajectory after uni, right? You just get a corporate job and you kind of get stuck in.
Yeah.
Right? And then after a year or so, I still had people who wanted to have little lessons. Like I give, you know, basically I call them uncle figures. So they're like a little bit older than me. They're in the community. See that I'm a decent golfer. They're like, okay, cool. Let me get some lessons, right? And through that, I kind of just got stuck back in, and now I'm playing all the time, bro. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday now.
Awesome.
Getting back to it, so we need to play.
It's the bug. Once you get the bug back,
yeah,
you're there, man. Yeah, we'll definitely get a game in. Definitely get a game in for sure.
No, it'll be interesting to see, and like to see what knowledge we can get. We can obviously do a match play. See who wins.
That'll be fun.
What's your handicap, by the way? We didn't even ask. Like,
I'll play off 7.
Okay, yeah.
Play off 7. But to give you an idea of that, I think 2 years ago I was playing off 18. So I've come down a lot over the last 2 years just by playing a lot.
He's been training himself. He's been training himself, and now.
There you go.
7. So if you want to get that.
Guys, when we play, I'll show you how powerful this stuff is, man. I'll show you
for sure.
how we'll do some tests and we'll do some bits, and I'll show you some bits, and you'll see the level of detail you can go to really get the best out of your game. This stuff works, man. Trust me.
Yeah, man. You've probably seen a lot of swings in your time.
Yeah.
Can you show me the weirdest swing you've seen, and like I'm talking weird and wonderful. Right? As in, you've seen the swing and you're like, how did he hit the ball straight?
Yeah. Good question. So I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this one. There's a guy that, I still coach him now, actually. And he hadn't played golf for a long time, about 7 years. Come to see me and said, like, I want to get back into it. My body's pretty much broken. What can I do, right? And he sent me a video of his swing, and I said, right, this guy's struggling. Looks like he's not picked up a club I know he's not played for 7 years. It looks like he's not ever played, right? And he went around and he said, right, I'm going to get my handicap back. So he played 3 rounds, got his handicap back. His handicap was 3. I was like, how?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how? Like, whatever. When he showed me his numbers, the guy has the weirdest swing you've ever seen in your life. Looks like completely loses his posture, comes out, flips to the wrist, everything. Just delivers the middle of the club at the ball every time. Every time. Shoots, shot. I think, when he got his handicap as 4, so he was probably shooting on average 5s. Crazy, man. And that for me was an eye opener to think, right, I need to think there's so many ways to play this game. Exactly. And not always what our vision of what a perfect swing looks like is not always the best for people, because he had to swing the club like that because he had no mobility at all. Like, he was just like dead, right? And we've worked on it and we've done a lot together. We've worked together for a long time now, and he's had some really good coaching as well. And his swing looks much better, and he's shooting even lower now. He's actually going to the playing an amateur competition in a couple of weeks. And he shot loads of shots off it, but it just makes you realise not always what you think is the perfect is always the perfect for that person, if that makes sense. So that was a nice little learning curve for me.
You know what I mean? Don't judge a book by its cover, man. Like Jim Furyk's on tour, right? And I'll show you his swing later, but it's essentially like that.
Yeah.
It's literally like that. And I say that to say, like, golf is a very weird and wonderful sport in the sense that you could have like 300 different swings that you're copying. Some people are copying Jim Furyk's swing. You know what I mean? And I guess it's what he's saying. Like, when I was growing up in the junior, sort of county golf era, right? We were taught, okay, this is position 1, position 2, position 3. It's only one way. It's a certain amount of degrees that you have to come along. Yeah. Right? It's the same plane. But yeah, it's not like that. If there's professionals out there like Bubba Watson, for example, all of these people with unorthodox swings, you could probably do it, especially with some mobility training. And I guess you've had to adapt your whole ethos around that, right? Because there's you have to like kind of meddle in with the swing or like push him towards a coach, for example.
Yeah, exactly that. And again, without trying to bore your listeners too much, what I try and get people to do is basically, I try and say to people, I want you to be a blank canvas. However you want to swing the golf club, swing it that way. But I don't want you to have to swing the golf club in a certain way because you have certain restrictions, right? And when I say that to someone, they're like, okay, that makes sense now. Basically, you should be able to swing the club in whatever way you want to swing it. You shouldn't have to swing it in a certain way because you have certain restrictions. When you say that to people, hopefully that then they understand like why they're doing what they're doing. But yeah, it's an interesting game, and I'll send you some stuff after that, so it's not going to bore everyone. But like we were saying there with the different swings, although every swing looks completely different, they basically can measure the swings now and work out. You can basically determine what is an efficient swing and not an efficient swing based on one metric. And I think that's the same with businesses, the same as that. Probably people that try and be social media influencers, there's the same thing. Everybody does things completely differently, but there'll be 1 or 2 things that's the key to whether that is successful or not. It's exactly the same with the golf swing. Exactly the same.
Just make sure you have USP and put the energy behind it. You know what I mean? Put the rocket ship behind that shit. Let it fly. You do a lot of collaborations on Instagram. He's a very active guy, so go follow him. If you want to give your Instagram and stuff, go for it, man. Yeah.
So Instagram, I'm Joe_macrogolf. Also on YouTube, Joe Macro Golf. So that's where you'll be finding me the most, mostly on Instagram. As I said, mostly on Instagram.
Yeah, and if obviously if you're starting golf, if you're an uncle, I don't discriminate. Come shout me, get a couple of tweaks, because you don't need to unwind or take the whole structure out of your swing. you just need a couple of tweaks so that you can enjoy the game more. And I think that's definitely what Joe takes into his stuff. So
Mate, it's all about playing the best golf you can play, pain-free, and to your best ability. That's what it's all about, man. We all want to play golf for years and years and years and years. No one wants to be getting hurt and not being able to play. Everyone wants to be playing till old age, and that's what I hope people do.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that hobby going, you know. That's one thing that will get you, you know, walking around happy when you're 80 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
If we get there, you know.
Exactly.
All right, Joe. Listen, take care. We'll obviously be in touch, bro.
Of course, man.
And stuff. Ask you for the clips and stuff. But thank you for coming on. Anything else you want to say before we clock off?
No, just stick with it, guys. You guys want to something big here. Stick with your dreams and stick with it. And trust me, man, the fear is gonna take you a long way. Find that fear and go with it. You need to get that fear.
Rational anxiety is your fuel, motherfuckers. All right. Take care.
Take care, guys. See you later, man.
See you later, man. Take care.